The following program is an OCAmedia community-produced episode of Oregon Life. We would like to thank our sponsors, the Oregon Brooklyn Optimist Club and the Oregon Freemasons. We are proud to have you as our sponsors.
Every airplane in our collection is primarily made of fabric. So yes, this is fabric. You can hear it, it's hollow like a drum, and you can even see when I push down, it gives a little. So as you can imagine, although this is a strong, enormous machine, it's also very delicate. And if you were to step on the fabric here on the wing, your foot would go right through. If you were just to punch it, your hand would go right through. So how do you get into the airplane? Well, the lower wing is reinforced in a little section right here close to the cockpit, and usually it's painted a different color, but here you can see it's just got a grip surface, so it's a slightly different color. On other aircraft it may be painted black or some other contrasting color. So it's reinforced with wood or sheet metal underneath. That allows you to just climb up right here on the wing and hang out safely. You may have seen videos in the 1920s of wing walkers, so like people walking on the wing. And if you haven't, you should look them up because it's really cool. In the 1920s, like anything was possible. It was the Roaring '20s. And so people were wing walking and doing all kinds of crazy stunts in what we call the barnstormer circuit air shows, just because it was a novelty. As we just explained though, you can't just walk on the wing. So they would step on the ribs where, as we saw before, the ribs are wooden, so they're stronger, or they'd step way up here on what we call the leading edge. That's the front edge of the wing. That's reinforced, again, with wood or sheet metal. And that's because the full force of the wind is going to hit that surface, but also if you were to hit something small like a bird, it wouldn't really damage your airplane. So a wing walker could walk way up here, and as you can also see, there's a lot to hold on to. So although obviously it's dangerous and don't try it at home, there's a lot more to hold on to and more to keep you from falling off than you might expect when you first see those videos. This is a tank aero engine from about 1929. Now, in the 1920s, one of the most popular engines for aircraft were actually leftover World War I surplus engines. They were bulky, they were strong, they were heavy. And one of the reasons they were heavy is they were water-cooled. Engines get really hot when you're operating them. You need to cool them down, and water is a great solution, but water's heavy. So somebody in Milwaukee was like, hey, there's a lot of air going around these engines since we're airplanes in the air. What if we had an air-cooled engine instead? And instead of building an entirely new engine, he just converted the existing OX5 water-cooled engine to be air-cooled, and that's the tank aero engine. So we have a great example of the ingenious adaptations and weird ideas of the 1920s and 30s, which is something I love about this museum and this era. We have a pretty large engine collection here at the Kelch Museum, and in fact we have a lot of engines on display that you can't see anywhere else in the world. We have a bunch of Zekle engines. They're 3 cylinders. These all became air-cooled as technology developed. Usually, all these engines, they're called radial engines because the cylinders are arranged in a circle on the radius. Usually with radial engines, we have an odd number of cylinders because that keeps the engine from vibrating with the firing pattern, but we do have an example of one that didn't really catch on. That's an even number of cylinders. This is a 4-cylinder. It didn't catch on because it didn't work real well, and so we went back to odd-numbered cylinders on engines. You may have heard of rotary engines, which are different from radial engines. Both of them are round. Rotary engines, the entire engine spins. So this is a radial engine, and it's bolted to the aircraft, and it doesn't move. And then the crankshaft comes out of the center here, and the propeller attaches to that, and the engine spins the crankshaft really fast. That's what spins the propeller. That's the idea behind this engine. A rotary engine, they reverse it and attach the crankshaft to the airplane, and the entire engine spins around that connected to the propeller. Very different technology, very early 1900s technology in World War I. We don't have very many of those because they don't fall within our scope. Actually, we don't have any of those. They don't fall within our scope at all. This is a wonderful example of the evolution of airplanes. So this is a Stearman, and you may have heard that name if you have any interest in aviation, because Stearmans were the trainer biplanes that the United States military used in World War II to train pilots. It was their first stage of training. This is the ancestor to that from 1929. And this particular airplane was used as a crop duster. So in the 20s and 30s, these airplanes were used for airmail, like we talked about, but also taking pictures, giving rides, a lot of things like that. But they became obsolete pretty quickly as designs developed. These airplanes are still very good for crop dusting, however. They're biplanes, so 2 wings, bi means 2, and if you have twice the wing surface, you have twice the lift. So they're able to get off the ground faster, and they're able to fly a lot slower. But if you have twice the lift and twice the wings, you also have twice the drag, the friction. So they can't go very fast. This aircraft at fastest could go about 110 miles per hour, and I wouldn't recommend it. So they're great crop dusters, not really great for traveling long distances quickly. This remained a crop duster through the 1950s, and after it had fallen into disrepair and was no longer used, our founder restored it as a really great example of a Stearman C3B. It's one of the only ones flying in the world, and we do still fly it. So we are an aviation museum, but we also have a lot of other things in our collection. In particular, this 1923 fire engine. This is the original fire engine that lived here in the town of Brodhead, where our museum is, way back in 1923, and it was the first engine that wasn't a horse. It still works. It was restored to full driving condition way back in the 60s, so we can drive it in parades. That's why we have it parked by the garage door, so we can get it out pretty easily. And the horn still works. And so does the siren. Now, obviously, fire engines are important to this day, and this is how they started out, but they're also, of course, important with airplanes, and one of the reasons is airplanes are very flammable, and it's not just the oil and the gasoline that is flammable. These airplanes are made out of fabric and wood, both of which are very flammable. So you need to have safety features like this tiny, miniature, portable fire extinguisher on this airplane. It's pretty small, so I don't know if it would actually put out a fire, but it's heartening to see it there in case you need it. I want to show you what the inside of these aircraft look like, and they're all really beautiful, but they've all been restored. You don't get to be 100 years old without falling apart a little bit. So I want to show you, this is the fuselage frame of a biplane that has not been restored. So at one point, everything in this room looked somewhat like this. Each airplane has a skeleton. It's that frame made out of steel tubing and a lot of sheet metal pieces. These are used where there needs to be more reinforcement or it's going to be hot, but the rest of the aircraft would be covered in fabric, and fabric deteriorates. So the areas that are uncovered on this airplane are where the fabric would have been, including the wings. Now, the fuselage body is made out of steel tubing, but the wing frame is made out of wood. It's made out of spruce because that's very strong while still being light. And if you look on the tail of this aircraft, you can see the remnants of the fabric way back from 1935. At the time, they would have used cotton, so just a natural fiber, and then after gluing it on, would cover it with a chemical dope that would shrink it to make it tight, and then layers of paint. Nowadays, we use a synthetic material that shrinks with heat, so we glue it on, and then you take an iron and you iron it, and it goes, it's really cool. This aircraft that I just showed you is not being restored. We're using it as an example, but this is the giant upper wing of a biplane that is being restored. As you can see, it's pretty long. I can't remember exactly how long, how many feet. I'm working on restoring this airplane, and it is from a bird biplane. Lower wings on a bird biplane are shorter and upper wings are bigger. So I had the lower wing in my living room when I was working on it, but the upper wing won't fit. As you can see, it's just these wooden, we call them ribs. They look like ribs. And then we have some metal pieces for the controls, but this is it. This is what keeps you in the air. And next step, after we finished sanding it a few weeks ago, the next step is to cover it in fabric and then cover it in layers of paint so that it becomes basically waterproof and airproof, and it will be a supporting wing structure and wing covering. I like to say aviation is for everyone. Wherever you are in the United States, abroad, please come visit us. We're less than 2 hours from Chicago. We're less than 2 hours from Milwaukee. We're close to Madison. We're right on the state line of Wisconsin and Illinois, and we would love to have you. I have met people here, coming here to learn about aviation from every continent except Antarctica. So if you live in Antarctica, please come so I can check that off the list.
Skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, noticing the days are